During live television debate, Trump told his biggest lie about Obama's presidency. Obama had receipts ready and exposed him so brutally that Trump's face said everything. Welcome to Real Life Stories. Before diving into this explosive live TV confrontation, let us know which city you're watching from in the comments. And if you believe these fact-checking moments should be shared, don't forget to hit the like button. Also, subscribe to our channel so you won't miss similar shocking encounters where truth defeats lies on national television. Because tonight, you'll witness how Barack Obama delivered the most devastating fact-check in live TV history. But this story reveals something deeper about truth and accountability in politics. While millions watched live, what happened wasn't just a political debate. It was a masterclass in how prepared facts can destroy even the biggest lies. And Obama's receipts didn't just expose Trump. They reminded America what happens when you come unprepared to face someone who always does his homework. September 18, 2024, CNN Presidential Debate Special, Atlanta, Georgia. The CNN Center's debate hall buzzed with electric anticipation. For the first time in 4 years, Barack Obama and Donald Trump had agreed to a live televised debate, not as candidates, but as former presidents discussing the state of American democracy. The network had promoted it as the political event of the decade. The stage was set with 2 podiums facing moderator Anderson Cooper, with a live studio audience of 3 yet invited guests and millions watching at home. The stakes couldn't have been higher, with both men's legacies on full display for direct comparison. Barack Obama, 63, stood at his podium wearing a charcoal gray suit with a blue tie, his leather portfolio containing meticulously organized documents and fact sheets. His preparation was legendary. Months of research, verified statistics, and cross-referenced data points about everything from economic indicators to foreign policy achievements. Donald Trump, 78, stood at the opposite podium in his signature navy suit and red tie, speaking notes nowhere to be seen. His confidence was palpable, built on years of making bold claims without immediate fact-checking. He had no idea that Obama had spent weeks preparing for this exact moment. Anderson Cooper opened with diplomatic introductions, but everyone in the studio could feel the tension. This wasn't going to be a polite policy discussion. President Obama, Cooper began. Let's start with your assessment of presidential leadership in times of crisis. Obama leaned into his microphone with measured authority. Anderson, I believe leadership during crisis requires preparation, consultation with experts, and making decisions based on facts rather than impulses. Whether it was the 2008 financial crisis, the Ebola outbreak, or natural disasters, we approached each challenge systematically. He outlined specific policies and their measurable results, citing unemployment rates, GDP growth, and international coalition building. The audience listened attentively as Obama presented a fact-based assessment of crisis leadership. Thank you, President Obama, Cooper said, turning to Trump. President Trump, your perspective on crisis leadership? Trump didn't wait for the full question. He was already leaning aggressively toward his microphone, his voice carrying immediate hostility. Anderson, what we just heard is typical Barack Obama, taking credit for things he never did and ignoring his complete failures, Trump began, his tone sharp and confrontational. The truth is, Barack Obama was the worst crisis leader in American history, the worst. He left me with every crisis you can imagine. The economy was destroyed, our military was depleted, our allies didn't respect us, and our enemies were laughing at us. Obama remained perfectly still, his expression unchanged, but his hand moved slightly toward his leather portfolio. When I took office, Trump continued, building momentum, unemployment was at record highs because of Barack's failures. The stock market was crashed, GDP growth was negative. It was a complete disaster, and I had to spend 4 years fixing everything Barack broke. The studio audience murmured. Several economic experts in attendance knew these claims were factually incorrect, but Trump pressed on. Barack Obama added more debt than any president in history. He destroyed healthcare. He made terrible trade deals. He let ISIS take over the Middle East. He let Russia interfere in our elections. Everything bad that happened during my presidency, I inherited from Barack. Trump was hitting his stride now, his voice rising with each claim. The worst part is, Barack takes credit for the great economy I built. Everything good that happened during my presidency, I created. Barack Obama never had a single successful policy in 8 years, not one. The lie hung in the air like a challenge. It was Trump's biggest and most brazen falsehood that Obama had no successful policies and left behind only disasters. Obama slowly opened his leather portfolio and pulled out a single sheet of paper. "Donald," Obama said quietly, his voice cutting through the studio silence, "I was hoping you'd say that." Trump's confident expression faltered slightly. Something in Obama's tone suggested he had walked into a trap. Obama held up the document. "This is the economic data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Federal Reserve, and the Treasury Department. Every number I'm about to cite is verifiable and public record." The camera zoomed in on Obama's composed face as he began reading from his prepared facts. "Donald, when I took office in January 2009, unemployment was 7.8% and rising. When I left office in January 2017, unemployment was 4.7%. That's not opinion, that's mathematics." Trump tried to interrupt, but Obama continued calmly. "You said I left you with a crashed stock market. When I took office, the Dow Jones was at 8,000. When I left, it was over 19,000. You inherited a bull market, not a crashed one." Obama turned the page of his document. "You said GDP growth was negative when you took office. The truth is, we had 12 consecutive quarters of positive GDP growth before you were inaugurated. You inherited an economy that was already growing." The studio was completely silent, except for Obama's calm, factual recitation. "You said I added more debt than any president in history. I reduced the annual deficit from $1.4 trillion to $585 billion. You, however, added $7.8 trillion to the debt in just 4 years, more than I added in 8. Trump's face was cycling through colors, from his usual orange to red to an almost purple shade of embarrassment. Obama wasn't finished. "You said I destroyed healthcare. During my presidency, we reduced the uninsured rate from 16% to 8.8%. During your presidency, the uninsured rate increased to 11.1%. You literally undid healthcare progress." The audience was leaning forward, watching Trump's expression as each fact landed like a precision strike. "You said I let ISIS take over the Middle East. When I left office, ISIS controlled 23% less territory than when I took office. You claimed credit for defeating ISIS, but 95% of the territorial losses occurred during my presidency." Obama looked directly at Trump, whose mouth was hanging slightly open. "Donald, you said I never had a single successful policy. Would you like me to list them? Because I have 17 pages of documented achievements right here." Trump finally found his voice, but it came out as a stammer. "Those numbers are fake. The deep state made those up." Obama smiled slightly and pulled out another document. "These are from your own administration's reports, Donald. Your Treasury Department confirmed these numbers in 2018. The devastation was complete. Trump had been caught in his biggest lie using his own government's data. Anderson Cooper, recognizing the moment, asked, "President Trump, how do you respond to these documented facts?" Trump's face had gone through every shade of red and was now approaching purple. He looked like a man who had just realized he'd brought a toy knife to a gunfight. Those aren't, you can't trust," Trump stammered, completely unable to form a coherent response to Obama's fact-based demolition of his claims. Obama calmly closed his portfolio. "This is why preparation matters in leadership, Donald. Facts don't care about your feelings or your narratives, they just are." The studio erupted in applause. Even some Republicans in the audience couldn't help clapping for Obama's methodical destruction of Trump's lies. Trump stood frozen at his podium, his face cycling through expressions of shock, anger, and humiliation. For perhaps the first time in his political career, he had been confronted with irrefutable facts that completely demolished his version of reality. "I need a break," Trump finally muttered into his microphone. "We'll be right back," Cooper announced, but Trump was already walking off the stage, his security detail hurrying after him. Obama remained at his podium, organizing his documents as if nothing unusual had happened. The aftermath was immediate and brutal for Trump. Clips of Obama's fact-check spread across social media faster than any political moment in recent history. Hashtag Obama receipts became the #1 trending hashtag worldwide within an hour. Political fact-checkers praised Obama's surgical precision with verifiable data. Economic analysts confirmed every number Obama had cited. Even conservative commentators admitted they couldn't dispute documented government statistics. Trump never returned from the commercial break. His campaign claimed he had urgent business, but everyone knew the truth. He had been so thoroughly destroyed by facts that he couldn't continue. The debate became required viewing in journalism schools as an example of how proper preparation and factual accuracy can defeat even the most confident lies. As one political scientist noted, Obama didn't just win that debate, he provided a masterclass in why truth always defeats fiction when someone comes prepared with receipts.